Social media giant Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, recently found itself embroiled in controversy after suspending accounts dedicated to tracking the private jets of prominent figures, including former President Donald Trump and Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. These accounts, which used publicly available flight data, had amassed significant followings, drawing attention to the travel habits of the rich and powerful. The suspension of these accounts has sparked a heated debate, with critics arguing that Meta is prioritizing the privacy of the elite over the public's right to transparency. This decision has ignited a fierce debate about the boundaries of privacy in the digital age, pitting concerns about individual security against the public's right to know. On one hand, there are valid concerns about the safety and security of individuals whose movements are being tracked and publicized. On the other hand, there is a compelling argument for transparency, especially when it comes to public figures whose actions can have wide-reaching implications. The debate is further complicated by the role of social media platforms as gatekeepers of information, with the power to shape public discourse and influence what information is accessible to the public. The case has also raised questions about the power and accountability of social media platforms in shaping public discourse. As private companies, platforms like Meta have the authority to set their own policies and enforce them as they see fit. However, this power comes with significant responsibility, as their decisions can have far-reaching consequences for public access to information and the overall transparency of our society. The suspension of the jet tracking accounts has led to calls for greater oversight and regulation of social media platforms, with some advocating for clearer guidelines on what constitutes a violation of privacy and what falls under the public's right to know. At the heart of the matter is a fundamental tension between two competing values: the right to privacy and the importance of transparency. This tension is not new, but it has been exacerbated by the rise of digital technology and social media, which have made it easier than ever to access and share information. The challenge lies in finding a balance that respects individual privacy, while also ensuring that the public has access to information that is in the public interest. This balance is particularly difficult to achieve when it comes to public figures, who often have a diminished expectation of privacy due to their influential roles in society. While few would argue against the right of individuals to a certain degree of privacy, even those in the public eye, the question of where that right ends and the public's right to know begins remains a subject of intense debate. This debate is not just about the actions of a few high-profile individuals, but about the broader implications for our society and the role of technology in our lives. As we navigate this complex landscape, it is crucial to consider the ethical and legal implications of our decisions and to strive for a balance that respects both privacy and transparency. Meta's decision has thrown this debate into sharp relief, forcing us to confront the complex and often uncomfortable questions about the role of technology in a democratic society. As we grapple with these issues, it is important to remember that the decisions we make today will have lasting impacts on the future of privacy, transparency, and the role of technology in our lives. The challenge is to find a path forward that respects the rights of individuals while also ensuring that the public has access to the information it needs to hold those in power accountable. This is a delicate balance, but one that is essential for the health and vitality of our democratic society. The accounts suspended by Meta were part of a growing trend of online communities dedicated to tracking the movements of private jets owned by celebrities, politicians, and other high-profile individuals. This phenomenon has gained significant traction over the past few years, with more and more people becoming interested in the whereabouts of the rich and famous. These accounts, often operating on platforms like Twitter and Instagram, utilize publicly available flight data to monitor and share the whereabouts of these private aircraft. By leveraging technology and social media, these trackers have created a network of information that is both accessible and engaging to the public. Proponents of these accounts argue that they provide a valuable service by shedding light on the activities of powerful individuals. They believe that transparency is crucial in holding public figures accountable, and that the public has a right to know how these individuals are using their resources. They contend that tracking the movements of private jets can reveal hypocrisy, expose potential conflicts of interest, and hold public figures accountable for their actions. For instance, if a politician advocates for environmental conservation but frequently uses a private jet, this could be seen as contradictory and worth public scrutiny. For example, tracking the travel of politicians can reveal if they are using taxpayer money for personal trips. This kind of information can be crucial for voters who want to ensure that their elected officials are acting in the public's best interest and not misusing public funds. While monitoring the flights of corporate executives can expose potential environmental hypocrisy, many corporate leaders publicly support sustainability initiatives, yet their frequent use of private jets, which have a significant carbon footprint, can undermine their public statements and commitments. However, critics argue that these accounts represent an invasion of privacy, even if the information used is publicly available. They believe that just because data is accessible does not mean it should be used to track individuals' movements so closely. They point out that tracking the movements of private jets can reveal sensitive information about an individual's whereabouts, travel plans, and even their personal relationships. This level of scrutiny can be uncomfortable and potentially dangerous for those being tracked. This information, they argue, could be used for stalking, harassment, or even to put the individuals being tracked at risk. The potential for misuse of this data is a significant concern, and it raises questions about the balance between transparency and privacy in the digital age. The debate over celebrity jet tracking is part of a larger conversation about privacy and transparency in our society. As technology continues to advance, the lines between public and private life are increasingly blurred. This issue forces us to consider how much information should be available to the public and what protections should be in place to safeguard individual privacy. Ultimately, the rise of celebrity jet tracking highlights the complexities of living in a connected world. It underscores the need for thoughtful discussions and policies that balance the public's right to know with the individual's right to privacy. As this trend continues to evolve, it will be important to monitor its impact on both public accountability and personal security. The controversy erupted when Meta, without warning, suspended several accounts engaged in jet tracking. Among those affected was the account at Elon Jet, which had amassed a significant following for tracking the movements of Elon Musk's private jet. The account's owner, Jack Sweeney, a college student at the time, had gained notoriety for his refusal to cease tracking Musk's jet, even after being offered a substantial sum of money by the billionaire entrepreneur. Meta's decision to suspend these accounts was met with immediate backlash from free speech advocates and transparency groups who accused the company of censorship. Many argued that Meta's actions were arbitrary and lacked transparency, as the company initially provided little explanation for the suspensions. The lack of clear communication from Meta only fueled the controversy, leading to accusations that the company was bowing to pressure from powerful individuals who were unhappy with being tracked. Under mounting pressure from various stakeholders, including privacy advocates, government officials, and the general public, Meta eventually issued a comprehensive statement defending its decision to suspend the jet tracking accounts. The company emphasized that this move was not taken lightly and was the result of careful consideration and internal deliberations. The company cited significant concerns about user privacy and safety, arguing that the accounts in question violated its stringent policies against coordinated harassment. Meta's policies are designed to protect users from various forms of online abuse, and the company stressed that these rules are in place to create a safer online environment for everyone. Meta maintained that tracking an individual's location in real time, even if that information was publicly available through other means, could pose a substantial risk to their safety. The company highlighted that real-time tracking could potentially expose individuals to immediate threats, making it easier for malicious actors to locate and target them. Specifically, Meta expressed concern that the accounts could be used to facilitate doxing, a particularly insidious form of online harassment. Doxing involves the public release of an individual's personal information, such as their home address or phone number, with the intent to intimidate, threaten, or harm them. Meta underscored the severity of doxing, noting that it can lead to real-world consequences, including physical harm, emotional distress, and significant privacy violations. The company argued that by allowing the jet tracking accounts to operate, it would be indirectly enabling such harmful activities. The company also argued that the accounts could be used to track the movements of individuals without their knowledge or consent, which could lead to various forms of harassment, including stalking. Meta pointed out that stalking is a serious issue that can have devastating effects on victims, including fear, anxiety, and disruption of their daily lives. By suspending the jet tracking accounts, Meta aimed to prevent any potential misuse of its platform that could contribute to such dangerous behaviors. The company reiterated its commitment to user safety and its zero-tolerance policy towards any actions that could jeopardize the well-being of its users. However, critics of Meta's decision were quick to point out that the company's existing policies on doxing and harassment already prohibited the sharing of private information, such as home addresses or phone numbers. They argued that these policies should have been sufficient to address any potential issues without the need for suspending the accounts. Critics also contended that simply tracking the movements of a private jet, which is publicly available information, did not constitute doxing or harassment. They emphasized that the information being shared by the jet tracking accounts was already accessible through other public sources and thus did not violate Meta's policies. Furthermore, they pointed out that Meta had not provided any concrete evidence that the suspended accounts had actually been used to facilitate harassment or harm. Without such evidence, critics argued that the suspension appeared to be an overreach and an unnecessary restriction on the sharing of publicly available information. The debate over Meta's decision highlights the ongoing tension between privacy and transparency in the digital age. While Meta insists that its actions were necessary to protect user safety, critics remain skeptical, questioning whether the suspension was truly justified or if it sets a concerning precedent for the future of online information sharing.